Welcome back. Let's get you analysis then on one of our top stories. Judgment has been reserved in disgraced Dr Nandipha Magudumana's court appeal. She's appealing the decision by the Free State High Court to dismiss her application to nullify her arrest in Tanzania on the basis that she consented to be brought back. Now, she argues that her deportation was a disguised extradition. For more on this, let's now speak to legal analyst Elton Hart. Elton, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure speaking to you. Elton, let's start with what Nandipha's legal representative, Senior Counsel Anton Katz, said this afternoon in court, telling the court that there is, in fact, an elephant in the room and that it was Magudumana's wrongdoing and the widespread opinion that she should be punished. What essentially is the defense saying here, and what is their argument?
Looking at and listening to Advocate Katz, from me, it is that he was trying to tell the court, listen here, there's a lot of noise around this case and also the public's opinion to say that, listen here, this person is implicated in some form of wrongdoing and she must actually be punished for her part in the alleged wrongdoing. And now it goes back to, because here we have a guy called Katlego Bareng whose body was used as a decoy, and I think that's where the public's opinion is now strongly formed to say, listen here, a person that could have been involved in planning and executing such a crime should be punished. And they don't necessarily look at the legality and also the constitutionality of when she was arrested, her rights, and whatever the circumstances surrounding her return to South Africa was. And that is what the court needs to be seized with, and not looking at the bigger picture of the escape and also the issues surrounding the death of Katlego Bareng. And what Advocate Katz was trying to say to the court is like, say, yes, that might be there on the periphery, but let's focus quickly at our constitution and how she was arrested and then eventually brought back from Tanzania to South Africa. Does it meet constitutional muster? And that is what we are concerned with right now.
And I mean, she says she's appealing on the basis that the court must dismiss her application to nullify her arrest in Tanzania on the basis that she, in fact, consented to be brought back. Is this a strong argument?
No, I think, because remember, they said the court made a fact finding last year in June, July last year to say that this extradition or this bringing her back was a disguised extradition. But then the court went further and put a tail on it to say, but she consented. And then her legal team is arguing to say that, I mean, even the prohibition notice that was given to her, she only became aware of it when this application was brought before court, that there was a prohibition notice saying that you are not wanted in Tanzania. She have never had sight of that. And under that circumstances, she could have never given informed consent to say that, listen here, I can be brought back to South Africa under the circumstances. And that is where they tailored and panel beated their argument around to say that that consent that the court relied on, drawing from the facts of the case and what happened with the handover and her being brought back, could never have been with consent by Nandipha Magudumana.
I mean, this is not the only extradition case that the Free State High Court is also, faced with. They also, of course, the extradition of the personal assistant to the ex-Free State Premier, Ace Mahashule Morwadi Sholota, also arguing basically her extradition be declared unlawful and unconstitutional. So Nandipha's case has now been reserved. Judgment, in fact, has been reserved. And it will come back in a later time next month, I believe. Or is it later this month? What are we likely to see there then in this particular judgment? What do you think the prospects are?
No, for me, it's always a 50-50 chance, because this is a thing that a judge or judges must apply their mind to, and obviously how they view it. But I think both sides, there's compelling arguments on both sides of the fence to say that like this. But I think if the High Court already made that fact-finding, because the High Court had more sight and heard more of the arguments and papers and things surrounding the circumstances, and they already made a fact-finding that this was a disguised extradition. The Supreme Court of Appeal, they very seldom interfere with the lower court's decision. If they think it was materially wrong, then they will interfere. So the fact that there was a fact-finding make already that this was a disguised extradition, then it means that you have to follow the extradition laws in bringing a person back. And I think on that basis, I think it might favor Magudumana in actually challenging this extradition from Tanzania back to South Africa.
What would it mean then for the main case also that she is, of course, also in court for with Thabo Bester?
Technically, it will mean that, okay, they have to release her and set her free. But then we know they have her passport. She doesn't have documents to actually exit the country. So at a later stage, this is like just an exercise that you actually lay down the legal principle, but not necessarily it will have any bearing to say that the case, the main case where now we talk about the escape, the death of Katlego Bareng, and some other cases that came with defeating the ends of justice, and also some other cases that might still be, or charges that may be still arising from what happened on that day when Thabo Bester either walked out of prison or escaped, whatever you want to call it. Then there can be other things, but it will not mean that those charges will disappear, vanish into the air. It will just mean that they can set her free and say, okay, it was, and she might have a claim against the state for her detention and incarceration from then till now, but eventually it will mean that she will again be arrested. Now she's in South Africa, and then she will be brought back to court. And for me, so I see it's like just a principle of law, and to show that what you did was wrong, but it's not necessarily to say that everything will now be swept under the carpet and everything will be hunky-dory and you're a free person.
Elton Hart, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate your analysis. Of course, Elton Hart commenting there around Dr. Nandipha Magudumana's court appeal. Judgment has been reserved in that case.